Hey, Dane again. It is time for part two of our GBA Boxy Pixel install. Last time we got the whole board recapped. Today we're going to start figuring out how we want to arrange things inside the shell. So here we have the very cool Boxy Pixel aluminum case. That thing is super awesome. So we need to fit our board inside there. And we also need to have room for our new power board, as well as our audio amp. This is a PAM 830, and I've used these before on both like a Game Boy Pocket and a Game Boy DMG, and they're great. They really get the audio cranked. So having not put anything in one of these shells before, I just kind of wanted to take a look today and see more or less how we would get things to fit in there. Okay, let's see. So, get our speaker in there. This is really how our board is going to sit. Now, I do need to take these off, but this board is basically going into that spot. And I think I'm going to try to actually put our audio amp on that same board. So kind of do something about like this. Now, my biggest concern with doing that is, these are where our power lines are going to be running. And so in order to sort of avoid crossing those wires, I actually took Dremel, cut some channels on the back side of them. So basically I can run the wires down through this hole, cross under the power board, and then back up. And I should be able to basically wire everything to the top of our audio amp there. I think it's a good solution. I haven't done this before, but I think that's good. So I guess the next thing I'm going to do here is start getting our shell ready to go. I need to finish prepping this board. We do also need to do an audio dehiss mod to this. It's pretty straightforward. It's just installing these, which should clean up our audio, which will really help, especially since we're going to amplify the audio that's there with our board here. So we want that to be as clean as possible. Okay, and I more or less have a plan for how this is going together. Yeah, so let's get cracking. All right, I think the way that I'm going to proceed is actually to do the dehum and dehiss mod first. This is a little tricky, just really because we have pretty good size caps that we have to fit inside the shell, and the Boxy Pixel shell inside seems to have kind of slightly different dimensions than the usual Game Boy Advance shell. Kind of just looking at what we have here, areas that previously I would have been able to put a capacitor in, say along this portion here, inside this shell. There might be some room here and some room over here. I'm not really going to have that in this shell, so I kind of have to figure out how to put them in there. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do the dehum dehiss mod first, see if I can't figure out a way to fit it, inside Boxy Pixel shell. And what just an awesome looking shell, man. So cool. So I think the way I'm going to do this is just go ahead and do the standard install, then kind of place things inside the shell to figure out where they could potentially go. With this board fitting in here like this, initial instructions that you'd get like on Handheld Legend, where to install these, some of these things were kind of up under here, and there's just no room for that here. So I think I'm gonna try to fit things in spaces kind of like so, and that should work. I just have to kind of figure this out as I go. Like, will this sit flush with capacitor there? I think it will. Same with this one here, which you can install over on this side. And that should work if I put those in that position. It'll be a little bit different than the way the instructions are on the website, but that is not that big of a deal. But I'm actually less concerned about putting, these ones in than these grain of sand sized SMD caps. I mean, these things are minuscule, teeny tiny. And the way that this is going to work is seems like the culprit for most of, or a good chunk of the audio issues that you get on a Game Boy Advance are this guy right here, C15. So I have to graft a 1 mic and a 10 mic SMD cap next to this. I mean, that is just super tiny. So I think I'm going to do that first. That's going to be challenging, but I think, you know, as long as I can kind of use my tweezers to hang on to it, I should be able to solder those in place. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and get started on that C15 now. Okay, so I have my 1 mic cap here and my 10 mic cap here. And as you can see, I mean, these are minuscule. I think the way I want to approach this is I want to actually weld these two together first, and then I will weld that to my C15 position. That way I'm not having to weld like multiple things onto the board and worry about overheating it or anything like that. That way it's just kind of get the thing put together in one package, put it in spot, tack it down, and be done with it. So that's the theory. But yeah, I mean, this is some really tiny. I don't really have a good apparatus for like holding that in place, like other than my tweezers. So I think the way I should approach this is to kind of pre-tin my soldering iron and then just kind of put a drop of solder on there and see if I can't get those to bridge correctly. So we'll go ahead and do that first. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my fume extractor here. So I'm just kind of gonna set my tweezers down on either side and pre-tin my soldering iron. I really don't need much. See if I can't those put into place. That joint works, but I'm not 100% crazy about it. I'm actually gonna add a little flux. Which, geez, that whole thing can fit inside a drop of flux. Much better. Okay, that's one side. Time for the next side. I think that's pretty good. Time to install our little capacitor bundle here at C15 on the board. Now, the way it's oriented in the instructions is with the 1 mic cap on the left and then the 10 on the right. That means for our little package here, I want to arrange it so. There's the new capacitor bundle. The next thing I'm going to do is try to get this teeny tiny cap package hooked up. So I'm going to basically use the same technique I did before, pre-tin my iron, put some flux on there, and see if I can't get this to actually do what it's supposed to. There's a drop. All right, let's try to get this. Okay, we should be hooked up now. Looks good. Okay, just do the other side. Yeah, that all looks hooked up to me. But just to be 100% sure, I'll break out the continuity tester. Okay, that side is good. And that side is good. All right, that is installed. That is working. We are all hooked up there at C15. So the next thing to check, well, the next thing we actually need to do is install our larger caps here. So we will do that next. Okay, so I think I've determined where I want to put my first cap. And this is a tricky one, especially putting it in this case, but I think I figured it out. So I have modified my cap, marked on the side so I can see, and bent these legs here. And I'm going to have it sit vertically right along this side here. Main reason for that is that I need access to this point for my audio amp. I need to be able to get to that. I also need to be able to get to these here and these points. So I need to keep this area of the board pretty much clear. My plan is to basically run a wire from the negative leg here over through the side of this. I'm going to use like a really fine like Kynar wire and hook it up to this point, which is pin 4, and then there's an SP1 point here on the bottom side that I'm going to connect to. If I have to, I may run both wires on the underside of the board, but I'm going to try to avoid it. So I think the first thing I need to do is figure out how to secure this cap in place. So I think I'm just going to put a little bit of double-sided tape on the top of this and kind of stick it plastic right here, and that should more or less keep it in place. Small square. Okay, that'll do. It's about the right size. Things over a little bit. That's okay. I'll go ahead and tin. Our cap is ready to have wires connected and to be stuck to the motherboard. I have to figure out exactly how I want to route these wires. We're trying to get to this point here. Basically, we need to hook it up to S1 down here at the end. I think I said SP1, but it's S1. And we need to get to the 4th leg of the headphone jack here. And as much as I'd like to keep all the wiring to this side of the board, I think I am going to have to go underneath. But I think that I'm going to have enough room between my bracket up here at the top. Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a gap there. So that should be fine to get a couple of small gauge wires down under. Okay. Now I'm just kind of trying to do a little test fitting here. You know, I'm actually not crazy about this tape on top here, because there's a little bit of a difference in height between this point and this point. So I think I'm just going to put a little bit of tape on the board itself. Don't need a ton, just enough to stick it in place. And you know, I think I'm just going to go ahead and hook my wires up first. A little bit of that. I'm going to do one side for now. We'll do the other end once we figure out how exactly we're going to route these wires. Wires in, good to go. All right, let's get these hooked up. So we're gonna go blue negative, green positive. There's one. Whoa, the biggest wolf spider in the world just walked across my floor. I'm going to, it's like tarantula sized. I'm going to go catch that and put it outside so it doesn't eat me and my family. Be right back. I was not kidding. Look at the dude, big boy, big girl. I don't know, but it's going outside. Okay, the spider is going back to its new home outside, and our capacitor has gone to its new home on the board here. So basically what I did was installed it right alongside here, making sure I have enough room to get to this contact when I need to, and then am running my Kynar wire down through this corner, which will let me hook up green right there as it needs to, and we'll send blue or negative right down here to number 4. And I feel like that's kind of the easiest run and the sort of least obtrusive way to put this, to secure this on the board. But yeah, this is a tricky one, putting this in this case. That's okay, tricky's all right. So our green wire is going to come right there to S1. We can snip that right there, like so. Blue wire is going to run down here to 4. That one we will clip off. And yeah, I was hoping I could keep stuff to the other side of the board, but I think we're going to be just fine. That one. It is going to be tricky getting in there to get to that point later on. I think we're up for it though. wires, bring them back over here. Get these stripped and tinned. Okay. Blue wire, negative, and positive. Go. Let's go ahead and run our wires back. This side of the board. Green wire first, blue. Let's go ahead and pre-tin those spots. Here's S1. Ready to go. And 4. A little bit bigger. Takes us a little bit more solder. First, we'll go ahead and do S1. S1 is hooked up. Now for our negative wire. Kind of pull these wires tight. We're hooked up at S1 and at 4. There, whatever we need to close this up in either the GBA case or in the Boxy Pixel. The reason I want to be able to also hook it up in the GBA case is so I can test it before moving on with the screen. We're actually on our last bit here, so we need to get this one hooked up. We decided that was going to kind of go in this neighborhood here. All right, we'll do that next. Okay, moving on. We are ready to hook up our capacitor down here at C43. Now we're going to go negative to negative and positive to positive on the legs. And I color coded this cap, same way I did the other one. Blue is negative, green is positive. And yeah, I'm just going to put a little piece of tape down here to secure the cap, and then we will do our wire runs. And we'll be done with the dehiss dehum kit. Luckily, this side's a little easier to kind of sort out where to put your cap. Okay, right there. There we go. All right, so we want our negative top. Positive on the bottom for our wire run. Much better. All right, here's our first wire run. I'm going to put just a little bit of flux there. Just a drop. There we go. Perfect. I think we're hooked up. All right, so there is our positive side hooked up and our negative side. I guess I didn't show a good close-up on that side, how I kind of routed those wires under there, like so. And that is all there is to it. I think one last thing we're going to do real fast is put a little bit of alcohol inside the power switch. And we're going to put a little bit in here too. We're going to run a little underneath just to clean out the power and the volume wheel. Never a bad idea when you're doing one of these. Going to run that back and forth a few times. Okay, we are going to get this button back up, test it out, and make sure that our audio fix worked. So I just started putting this back together. Excited to hear how this sounds. Game Boy Advance was kind of notorious for having scratchy audio. Hey, one of truth. Let's see what we get. That is as loud as it will get. Hold this a little bit closer to the mic played a bit just so you can get a better idea of what the audio sounds like with the dehum, dehiss, and the recap. And once we get the amp and the new speaker put in, I think it's going to sound awesome. Play it backwards here. I think it sounds very good. I think I'm going to call it a night on that one. So we've now done our recap. We have done our dehum and our dehiss. We've started to figure out exactly how we want to lay everything out inside the Boxy Pixel case. And yeah, I think next is going to be installing our LCD screen, our nice IPS LCD panel, and getting it all arranged in here. And then once I've done that, I can lay my power board and my audio amp on top, finish hooking everything up, and call it good. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate it a lot. You know, it's been a lot of fun working on this channel. This is all new to me, but I am really having a good time doing these videos. So if you enjoyed hanging out with me and learning this stuff alongside me, please, you know, add a like and subscribe and all that stuff. And yeah, we'll see you on the next time when we, you know, crank out the next stuff. So yeah, thanks for being here. Bye now.